brace yourselves, because the political universe is imploding before our very eyes. In a development so seismic it's rattling the foundations of Westminster, Home Secretary A.T. Koopa has unleashed a ferocious, earth-shattering assault on Chancellor Rachel Reeves' economic blueprint. A plan so ruthless it's being dubbed the Doomsday Ledger. This isn't a May squabble. It's a full-blown insurrection within the Labour government, a clash of titans that's ripping the party apart like a hurricane tearing through a house of cards. With the spring statement lurking on the horizon like a guillotine poised to drop, Koopa's savage, gloves-off rejection of Reeves' savage spending cuts has detonated a political powder keg, sending shockwaves of betrayal, fury, and chaos rippling through the halls of power. This is no ordinary drama. This is a blockbuster showdown that could rewrite Britain's destiny. Hold up! Before we plunge into this electrifying saga, I'm sounding the alarm. You need to subscribe right now. This is the story of the decade, and you cannot afford to miss a single explosive update. Smash that subscribe button, ring that bell, and flood the comments. Koopa or Reeves? Who's the hero Britain needs? Your voice could shape this battle. Subscribe today and join the revolution, because this channel's your front row ticket to the chaos. Now, let's dive headfirst into this cauldron of intrigue. Rachel Reeves, the steely-eyed chancellor with a heart of granite, has shackled herself to a fiscal strategy so unyielding it could make a dictator blush. Her self-imposed borrowing commandments, no dipping into the loan pot for daily expenses, no mercy for the balance sheet, have painted her into a corner tighter than a coffin. With the economy staggering like a punch-drunk boxer, her grand solution is to wield the budgetary axe with surgical precision, or perhaps reckless abandon. We talking billions, hacked from public spending, with welfare, that lifeline for the downtrodden, squarely in the crosshairs. These cuts, set to be unveiled in the spring statement later this month, aren't just numbers. They are a death sentence for the vulnerable, a betrayal of the social contract that could leave Britain's poorest shivering in the shadows of Reeves' fiscal fortress. And then there's A.T. Koopa, the Home Secretary with a soul forged in fire and a voice that roars like a lioness defending her cubs. She's not just opposing Reeves, she's declaring war on an epic scale. Koopa's been a relentless warrior for welfare and social services, a beacon of hope for those crushed under the weight of economic despair. Sources close to her whisper tales of closed-door tirades, where she's branded Reeves' approach a heartless travesty and a dagger to Labour's car. She's warned, nay, prophesied, that these cuts will unleash a tsunami of suffering, drowning the working class, the sick, the elderly, and the forgotten in a sea of misery. This isn't policy, it's punishment, she's reportedly bellowed, her words echoing through the smoke-filled rooms of power. Koopa's not playing defense. She's leading a crusade, and she's got the moral high ground locked down tighter than Fort Knox. Imagine the scene in Westminster, a buzzing hive of panic, MPs scurrying like rats on a sinking ship, whispers of mutiny swirling in the air like a poisonous fog. The Treasury, that cold, calculating machine behind Reeves, is scrambling to shore up its beleaguered chancellor as the spring statement, slated for March 26th alongside the Office for Budget Responsibilities, OBR, financial forecast, looms like Judgment Day. This was supposed to be Reeves' crowning glory, a testament to her ironclad discipline amid economic quicksand. Instead, it's morphed into a battlefield, with Koopa's rebellion lighting a fuse that could blow the whole damn government sky high. The Treasury's due to hand over its proposed cuts to the OBR this Wednesday, but insiders spill the tea. Koopa's relentless barrage has turned these negotiations into a blood-soaked cage match. Every meeting's a shouting match, every memo a Molotov cocktail, and the collateral damage could be Labour's very soul. Let's zoom in on the stakes, because this is life or death stuff. Reeves' fiscal empire rests on a crumbling foundation, a measly £10 billion buffer that's more mirage than safety net. Months of economic stagnation have gnawed at it like termites. Inflation spiked to a 10-month peak of 3% in January, Government bond yields are soaring like vultures over a carcass, and growth? It's a ghost, a cruel joke whispered in the wind. Yet Reeves clings to her gospel. No borrowing for day-to-day costs, debt slashed by 2029, welfare capped like a prisoner in chains. Her 4-point master plan: planning reform, Whitehall budget butchery, regulatory shredding, and welfare slashing, reads like a dystopian dictator's playbook. It's a blueprint to balance the books on the backs of the poor and Koopa's screaming bloody murder. Koopa's not just a critic, she's a revolutionary. She's rallying the troops, summoning senior labor figures to her banner with a clarion call: "We can't let this stand." She's painting a vision of a Britain where public investment fuels hope, where welfare isn't a punching bag but a shield. "Reeves' borrowing limits are a noose around our necks," she's cried, slamming the Chancellor's arbitrary obsession with fiscal purity. Her allies whisper of secret meetings, of plans to force a reckoning, maybe even a coup. The working class, the backbone of Labour's vote, is watching, and Koopa knows it. If Reeves cuts land, those voters could bolt, leaving the party a hollowed-out husk. This isn't just a policy spat. It's a fight for Labour's identity, and Koopa's swinging for the fences. The public's getting a front-row seat to this carnage, thanks to Sky's deputy political editor Sam Coates. On the Politics at Jack and Sam's podcast, he dropped a bombshell that hit like a thunderclap. Welfare cuts are baked into the spring statement, a desperate gambit to keep Reeves' borrowing straitjacket from snapping. The backlash: it's apocalyptic. Critics are howling. Why is Reeves choosing ledgers over lives? Koopa's leading the charge, branding the strategy unsustainable, politically suicidal, a betrayal of the people we swore to protect. She's armed with grim stats. Growth's a cops, borrowing costs are a runaway train, and that 10 billion buffer's a threadbare lifeline. One misstep, and Reeves could breach her own sacred rules, plunging Labour into a spiral of shame and recrimination. And where's Sir Keir Starmer, the supposed captain of this sinking ship, hiding behind platitudes? That's where, last week, he muttered about preliminary assessments and weighing options. But on the Koopa-Reeves blood feud, he's a ghost, a spineless spectre dodging the fray. Insiders say he's terrified. Koopa's gaining steam, her righteous fury resonating with MPs and grassroots alike. If this explodes into a full-on crisis, Starmer's hand might be forced. Will he back Reeves' icy pragmatism or Koopa's blazing idealism? Either way, Labour's unity is fraying like a cheap suit, and the clock's ticking louder than Big Ben on steroids. The spring statement's a powder keg, and the economic backdrop's pure nightmare fuel. Inflation's clawing higher. Global markets are buckling under Donald Trump's tariff tirade. We'll get to that chaos in a hot minute, and Britain's economy's a punching bag in the crossfire. Reeves swore one budget a year for stability, but October's grand design is a crumbling ruin. Tax hikes, more cuts. She's tight-lipped, a poker face masking the panic. Starmer's no better, deflecting from a DC trip to grovel at Trump's feet with vague drivel. Big decisions were October's game. No speculation here. Tell that to Koopa, who's ready to storm the barricades to save Labour from itself. Speaking of Trump, hold on to your hats, because the ex-president's thrown a Molotov cocktail into the mix. His tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China have triggered a global stock market meltdown, with retaliatory measures lighting fires worldwide. The UK's dodged the bullet, so far, but Reeves admits the shockwaves will batter Britain's shahs. Starmer's jetting off to negotiate, but with Labour imploding at home, he's got the bargaining power of a wet noodle. The spring statement's now a high-stakes gamble, and Koopa's betting it'll be Reeves' undoing. Let's rewind to October, when Reeves unveiled her fiscal commandments: the stability rule, budget balance by 2029, the investment rule, debt down by 2029, and the welfare cap, spending locked in a cage. It sounded noble then, but now, it's a straitjacket strangling hope. Economic growth's a mirage. Borrowing costs are a wildfire, and Reeves buffers a whisper in the wind. Koopa's pouncing, wielding these failures like a flamethrower. This isn't leadership, it's surrender. She's pushing for a radical rethink. Investment over cuts, compassion over calculus. The Treasury's digging in, number 10's flailing, and the public's seething. Will Reeves' fortress hold, or will Koopa's uprising topple it? This is labor at the brink. Koopa versus Reeves. Heart versus head. Justice versus austerity. The OBR's forecast is a ticking bomb. The spring statement a loaded gun. Westminster's a war zone, and Britain's future hangs in the balance. Stay glued. This is a saga for the ages.